that all right?
Mm. Perfect.
Perfect. Good.
In this video, I talked to my dad, Grant Bignell. He is a wellbeing and education manager for the QRL and my biggest inspiration. In this video, we talk about breathing and how it impacts your mental health, immunity, physical performance, and so much more. Watch on for the highlights or check out the full version for a whole lot more detail through the link in my bio.
Hey Dad, how you going?
Yeah, really good, Dale. How you going?
Very good, very good. Do you want to do a bit of an intro about yourself and your work and your interests and stuff like that?
Sure, no worries at all. So obviously my name's Grant. I'm Morgan's dad. I suppose that would be achievement number one for Grant. So I work for the Queensland Rugby League. I'm currently working in a wellbeing and education role. It's a really enjoyable role. I get to spend a lot of time in and around rugby league, probably as close as I can without being directly involved in the game. Sorry, people chasing me now. I'm a rugby league tragic, I suppose you would say. Been involved in the game one way or another pretty much my whole life. I probably watch as much rugby league as any other person I know. So that takes up a big part of me, fills a lot of my interests in life. Obviously, then I have my family and what I do, which fills up another great big chunk, and the little bit left over, I probably now more than ever dedicate to, I guess, what is called self-care in a lot of the world now. So, I'm a person that I guess would be a casual trainer without being any high level, but I like to test myself and try new things and experience things with exercise and training, and yeah.
Cool. So do you want to talk a little bit about the training you're doing at the moment and any other little habits that you're trying out at the moment? I find it very interesting, the stuff that you're doing at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm actually currently going through a bit of a program. I'm a person that I guess spent my whole life just pinching bits of free stuff, information where I could, and finally decided to sign up for something that really intrigued me. It's a guy out of America. He's known as the knees over toes guy on social media, but they've got a online platform through ATG training, and it's all around probably just a different way of different look at functionality and how things work. And you cover a lot of stuff. You do a lot of things that you would be told never to do in a gym forever. Like that's been the standard go-to. They do a lot of sticking your knees right out in front and getting down nice and low and getting in and out of those positions comfortably. And everything's about reducing pain and slowly upping the load and the intensity to what he has as a standard level, where he says if you can achieve the standards in all these exercises, you will be pain-free and more athletic than before. So I don't have to go much better to be more athletic than I was before, but the pain-free interests me a lot.
Yeah, really cool. Today I'll just talk to you mostly about breathing, which we've talked about obviously many times before, but someone commented on my recent photo and they had an interest in breathing, so I thought that was pretty cool and a good opportunity to talk to you about it. You did a course in sort of breathing and breath work recently, is that right?
I did, yeah, with the guys. The course was called The Art of Breath. The guys do it PSE or Power Speed Endurance. It was really interesting just to see how to apply that, the depths you can go to with it, and what the science behind it now is undeniable. Yeah. I guess breathing. I've had a real interest in it since I stumbled across Wim Hof. Everyone out there would know the Iceman now. So. His methods and his ways of going about it probably is something that got me hooked on it. But then, again, paid up and did a course with the guys at Art of Breath, and it's been really, really interesting to just tag along and follow that stuff along.
I think the research definitely is pretty undeniable, but I think it's kind of hard to come by, I've found, if you don't really go looking for it, myself anyway. But there's just, it's pretty crazy the benefits of it. Do you want to start sort of talking about, I guess, breathing and its role with anxiety and stress? I guess how you can manipulate it to address some of those things.
Yeah, well, we breathe without thinking about it. It's one of our autonomic systems in our body, but it's something that we can actually control and we can impact. And with that, we can impact the rest of our body. We can't stop our heart. We can't think hard enough to control our heart. But if we control our breath, we will have a carryover effect onto, slowing our heart rate down, slowing all the different levels of, hormonal release in the body and all the things that lead to anxiety and panic and all that sort of, those situations we find ourselves in. Nasal breathing, again, looking at the Wim Hof stuff, he don't care, just get it into you is his mantra. But, with these guys, they focus on the nasal breathing and being able to control that. And as soon as you have to turn your attention to it to be in control of it, which brings your attention away from whatever it is that is potentially driving you into the anxious state or into that sympathetic nervous system and response. If you can get that control, get that attention on your breath and slow it all down and get everything back, and it's been proven to really quickly jump you back into that parasympathetic system and just calm you out.
Have you heard of the Buteyko Clinic with Patrick McEwen?
No, but I'll just write that.
Oh, you'd love them. They're really cool. Really, really cool. He's a really cool guy, and he has a sick Irish accent as well.
Nice.
That's always fun to listen to. So they've done a lot of research about it, and they have a breathing method called the Buteyko method, which is all about nasal breathing. They just found that it has so many benefits, from your craniofacial development as a kid to addressing asthma, anxiety, sleep disorders, immunity, because obviously your first line of defense against viral sort of viruses is in the nose.
Timely.
So pretty cool stuff. Do you have any sort of like activities or little things that people can try in terms of nasal breathing to give it a bit of a go and see the changes for themselves?
I think the biggest test with nasal breathing is keeping your attention on it and staying conscious with it. If you have a look around, and I do this a lot now because I'm weird, but I watch people just in general society, and you watch them, if you ask them, they would say they breathe through their nose, but if you watch them, they've all got little pursed lips, or some of them even hang their mouth wide open. You've seen that, and it's just a lazy breath.
Yeah.
It does, it stays in the top of your chest or right in the top of your lungs, and it doesn't really get in and it doesn't do anything. Whereas the nasal breathing, the thing I like about it is as soon as I really concentrated on it and turn my attention to it, my breath gets deeper, it gets slower, it's more committed. The nose activates the diaphragm much more than the mouth. Absolutely, and I think it lets the rib cage move properly. For me, anyway, it's easier for me to move my rib cage to allow my diaphragm, to allow my lungs to do all that stuff. Like you say, the connections to nasal breathing and your breath being more oxygenated and the nitric oxide levels that it stimulates as well, and all these little things that, without geeking out on the science too much, because I don't really understand it myself, but the smart people say it's good, so I go with that. But I think, for me, being really conscious of when I'm walking, doing light exercise, keep my mouth clamped really tight and really concentrate on that nasal breathing and staying within the art of breath. They talk about, the gears we go through, instead of, rating your activity anaerobic, or aerobic and through those stages. They do it with breath, the amount of breath you need, how you breathe. That's how they measure the gears of that. And it's really cool. And something I think you get a lot of return on, especially people that are interested in their athletic abilities. Yeah.
So would you do sort of nasal breathing for more aerobic, lower intensity stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. And I try to do it a lot. I'm trying to stretch that out now. So obviously once you get a little bit deeper into it, you start to, instead of letting yourself gasp for air where you would normally, I try and really stay hard on the nasal breathing and, really concentrate on just staying there and not giving in to the reflex of gulping for air.
And what do you think in your training? Do you notice any differences when you're nasal breathing or getting better at nasal breathing while you're exercising?
I notice I'm definitely getting better. I'm able to, it definitely has an impact on your endurance levels. I think not that I'm an endurance athlete by any way, but for the little bit of stuff I do, I definitely notice a difference, and I know I can stay in that nasal state for a lot longer now and handle a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I guess we'll talk a little bit now about hypoxic stuff. So I've done a couple of hypoxic runs with you. Really, really cool. Do you want to talk about what that is and what the benefits are?
Yeah, so I guess that again coming out of this course with the guys with the Art of Breath stuff, and it's something that interests me a little bit in that they use it for warm-ups. So essentially it's being active on a breath retention, and so their warm-ups are you do a bit of an activity, you have 5 breaths, you breathe out, and on that exhale you hold, and then you perform some more, and you go for as long as you can before you breathe. And it was really interesting in the warm-ups and the way it helps you to essentially get what we know more as our second wind, I guess. It really it promotes that, gets you into that state a lot quicker. Lately I've been doing more on the hypoxic walks that they do, where I take 5 breaths, exhale, take 40 steps. Take 5 breaths, exhale, take 40 steps, and just do that repeatedly for as long as I can. Probably up to 12 to 15 minutes I can do that for now. Again, is it going to have some crazy benefit for me day to day? I don't know. It follows along or replicates altitude training, and just gets you more efficient with your body's ability to use CO2, and again, I think it's just being conscious and being aware that you can control that. I think, and probably the mental benefits I get out of that are as much as the physiological stuff.
Yeah, well, I do it sometimes. The Buteyko Clinic, or their method, they recommend that as well, and it really clears your nose, because most mornings I wake up with a blocked nose, and it just clears you right up, because I guess your body, it's not stupid, it's going to have to breathe, and it's going to clear you up so that you can breathe more efficiently.
Absolutely, your body won't let itself suffocate; it just will not. So. Yeah.
But I think on the endurance side of things, I didn't actually realize this until I did a bit more research recently, but your CO2 is needed for sort of the saturation of oxygen and that sort of transfer. And I think the main thing I found with the hypoxic stuff is that initially I think my body was just freaking out, and my mind more than anything was going, what the hell is happening? But you just get so much more comfortable, and your body gets used to having that CO2. And so it makes sense how that can have an impact on your endurance performance, just because you're used to tolerating that level.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what all of these, really smart people, they lay it out really well. And it's a really interesting concept when you think about, especially what we're going through right now with this COVID situation, and it affects straight up. If you have a compromised respiratory system, then you are in trouble. You are at risk. And this is something everyone can fix on their own right now.
Crazy.
And I shouldn't probably say fix, but it can improve. Absolutely 100% improve. And it costs you absolutely nothing but time. And, the perceived benefits are unbelievable. And now, for me personally, going for undeniable in, the length of time I can hold my breath for and have these retentions and do that stuff. And I feel much better for it. I honestly do. So.
Yeah, there's it's funny that you said that. There's actually an article on the Buteyko website, which I'll chuck at the end, called "How Nasal Breathing is the First Line of Defense for the Coronavirus." Really cool, very scientific, but it does give it a really in-depth sort of overview. But I think, as much as the research is undeniable, you got to give it a go and see, because the effects are undeniable as well. So yeah, that's kind of what I would say is the biggest takeaway, is just giving it a go and seeing how you feel. I think the first time I ever tried it, I was just sitting in the car listening to a podcast about it, and I just tried to go for as long as I can, just breathing through my nose. And it's so funny. The first thing I noticed was my mouth just filled with saliva, because obviously when you're in that parasympathetic nervous system, which is your calm nervous system, your rest and digest nervous system is the time where your body does digest, obviously. And my mouth just filled with saliva. It's so wild. So yeah, it's pretty undeniable stuff. But I think, I've never, until talking to you, I've never heard anything about it, and I don't think it's really out there and talked about. So, yeah.
And the shame of it is right now. This is a time when, you know, literally everyone in the Western world could benefit from this right now.
Oh yeah.
And no one's talking about it. We're not.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about locking yourself away and doing all this stuff and whatever else and whatever responsibilities you have, but no one's talking about this. This is a simple responsibility you have to yourself, and it's something that can be done in 10 or 15 minutes of a morning for a while, and eventually it becomes your whole day.
Yeah.
You start to notice when you're mouth breathing, as opposed to, you know, notice when you're not sort of nasal breathing almost. So it's a really, really interesting concept and process.
Very much so. So I guess if you were to give sort of 3 takeaways from this, or 3 tips, have a bit of a think about it if you want first. But yeah, what would you say are your 3 sort of takeaways?
I guess the big one for me is our nose is there for a purpose.
Yeah.
Use it.
Yeah.
You know, it's something that we were born to use. We were designed a long time ago to use. Mouth for eating and talking, nose for breathing. This would be the first one. The second one, find ways to test yourself with it. See where you can take it and what you can do with it. Don't do it in water, or don't do it driving if you're doing breath holds or anything like that. Little disclaimer. And I guess the big thing is be open to what it could do for you. I'm really I put a lot of stock on things at the moment and say, you know, the what if. Like, what if this is the thing that saves your life, without being too dramatic? But what if it is? What if nasal breathing and conscious breath work and being aware of it, what if that's the thing that turns your health around?
Yeah. And what does it cost you?
Cost you time and energy. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was really, really good. I hope everyone gets something out of it, which I'm sure they will.
No worries. Thank you very much for letting me rabble.
Of course, anytime. Thank you.
Goodbye.